AGHAMAZING, my dear students! Welcome back to our science video lesson. I am your science teacher, Teacher Larry, and welcome to AGHAMAZING way of learning science. We are now at our third quarter, Module 7 of Science 7. Our most essential learning competency is to describe the different types of charging processes. In this video, we are going to study electricity and the different types of charging processes. When we say electricity, electricity is also known as an electrical energy. This energy originates from the motion of charges. And when we say an electric charge, it is an electrical property of matter that creates a force between objects. All of us are made up of charges. The human body consists of atoms containing both positive and negative charge held together by attractive forces. First, let us define a charge. Charge refers to a basic property of matter carried by some elementary particles that govern how the particles are affected by an electric or magnetic field. In other words, a charge is a property of certain subatomic or elementary particles that determines their electromagnetic interaction. It is this charge that is responsible for static electricity. So what is static electricity? Static electricity means the electric charges are at rest. Electricity originates inside an atom. An atom consists of subatomic particles exhibiting different charges. These are protons, electrons, and neutrons. A proton are subatomic particles with a positive charge. In our representation of the atom, the protons are the color orange with the positive sign. If we look into the atoms, we can see that protons are located in the nucleus or at the center of the atom. It is there together with the neutrons. The second subatomic particles that we are going to discuss are the neutrons. Neutrons are neutral subatomic particles. Just like protons, they are located in the nucleus. They are blue-green in our diagram. Another type of subatomic particles are electrons. Electrons carries a negative charge in our representation of the atom. We can see that electrons are not located in the nucleus. Instead, they orbit the nucleus. They are around the nucleus. They are the ones in purple color with negative sign. Now, we know the different subatomic particles of the atoms. The question is, how do objects get charged? Objects are charged by gaining or losing electrons. Rubbing of two different materials can cause the transfer of electrons from one object to another. Always remember that only electrons can be transferred to objects because they are located outside the nucleus. Protons and neutrons cannot move from one object to another because they are tightly held on the nucleus. When an electrons are transferred or object loses an electron, they become positively charged. On the other hand, if the object gains or acquires electrons, the object becomes negatively charged. And lastly, if the object does not gain nor lose an electron, the object has a neutral charge. All charges follow the law of conservation of charges, which states that charges cannot be created nor destroyed but can be transferred from one material to another. The total charge in a system must remain constant. When we rub two objects with each other, they become electrically charged. As stated a while ago, an object can be positively charged, negatively charged, or neutrally charged. When charged particles came near each other, there is a force exists between them. This force can be the force of attraction or the force of repulsion. Force of attraction is a force that pulls objects together. This happens between two unlike charges. So a negatively charged object is attracted to a positively charged object. Meanwhile, a force of repulsion is a force that pushes objects apart from each other. This happens between two objects that have like or the same charge. A positively charged object repels another positively charged object, and a negatively charged object repels another negatively charged object. In short, electrically charged objects or particles obey the rule of law of charges, which states that opposite charges attract and like charges repel. Let us now talk about the different charging processes. Objects can be charged by three processes. These are charging by friction, charging by conduction, and charging by induction. Let us first discuss charging by friction. Charging by friction can occur by rubbing two different materials. When objects are rubbed against each other, the electrons from the surface of one object move to the surface of the other. This gives a positive charge to one substance and a negative charge to the other. Observe the image. We have neutrally charged PVC pipe and a neutrally charged rag. When the PVC pipe is rubbed to the rag, what happens to the charge of the PVC pipe and the rag? Very good! When the PVC pipe is rubbed against the rag, as a result, the PVC pipe becomes negatively charged due to excess electron. Meanwhile, the rag becomes positively charged because it loses an electron. But how would you know if an object will either gain or lose electron? Which one becomes positively charged? And which one becomes negatively charged? To predict this, we can use the triboelectric series. The triboelectric series is an arrangement of materials or substances according to their ability to gain or lose electrons. Materials that are placed at the upper end of the sequence will most likely give up or lose electrons and become positively charged. On the other hand, materials that are found at the end of the sequence will gain electrons and will become negatively charged. The strength of the electric force between the objects depends on the distance between them. The further the materials are from each other in the series, the stronger is the electrical force of attraction. The next process is the process of conduction. Charging by conduction happens when electrons are transferred from one material to another by direct contact. It involves the direct physical contact of a charged object to a neutral object. Take a look at this example. We have here a negatively charged rod and a metal sphere that is neutrally charged. What happens to the charge of the metal sphere after the rod was contacted to it? You are right. The metal sphere becomes a negatively charged. During the conduction, the same charge is created in the neutral object. Materials that allow electrons to flow freely are called conductors. Metals are good conductors of electric charge. This means a good conducting materials will allow charges to be distributed evenly on its surface. Some of these metals are silver, copper, and aluminum. The best conductor of electricity is silver. However, it is expensive. which is why copper is used extensively for electric wirings. On the other hand, materials that hinder electrons to easily flow through them are called insulators. This means that charge is seldom distributed evenly across the surface of an insulator. Examples are glass, wood, plastic, and hard rubber. This is the reason why electric wires have rubber coating to prevent electricity from flowing directly to our hands and to prevent electric shock. The last type of charging process is called charging by induction. Charging by induction is a process where an object can be charged without actual contact with any other charged object. You can induce a charge in a neutral object by moving a charged object close to it. Induction creates a temporary and opposite charge in that other object with no contact. Observe this picture. What happens to the electrons of metal sphere where the negatively charged rod is brought near to it? Very good. The electrons move on the other side of the metal sphere. The side that is close to the rod becomes positively charged, but this charge is temporary. It is temporary because electrons did not transfer to or from the object's charge. Why do the electrons of the metal sphere move on the other side or away from the rod? Correct. Because the rod has a negatively charged particles or electrons, that is why it repelled the electrons of the metal sphere. Remember, like charges repel and unlike charges attract. And that ends our science video lesson. I hope you have learned something. See you in our next AGHAMAZING video.